Recording in progress.
Good morning, friends, and welcome to yet another awesome session of Mindful Living. We really appreciate your taking out time and joining us today in supporting the World Cancer Day. I would like to ask you, do you recognize any of the people in this picture? If you recognize anyone, please type the name of the person you see in this picture. You need to belong to another era to remember, to know some of these people. Yes, thank you, Rashmi. Anybody else? Nargis, for sure. Anybody else recognizes anybody else in this picture? So the first time I heard of cancer was in early 1980s. Yes, Sunil Dutt and Nargis, all of them. Thank you, Sanjay Dutt. Yes. So filmy hero, thank you, Ashok. So first time I heard of cancer was in early 1980s when Nargis got diagnosed with cancer. Soon after, in 1981, she passed away. She was very young. She was merely 51 years when she passed away. And her death had a devastating effect on her family. Sunil Dutt went into depression for a couple of months, and Sanjay Dutt took to drugs. Whenever we lose someone close to very close to us, someone who's our beloved, the emotional trauma is too much to deal with. Soon after that, we have a family friend whose young daughter got cancer, diagnosed with cancer, and she passed away. My Buaji, father's sister, she got cancer, breast cancer, she passed away. And recently I lost my mother-in-law to cancer. Cancer has today become the world's second leading cause of death. And there are many people in my close circle who have been diagnosed with cancer, or who have family members who have been diagnosed with cancer. Today's session is not about how can we prevent cancer, what are the causes of cancer, but it is more about understanding how to deal with this disease, once somebody has been diagnosed with it. Because it's the leading cause of death, anytime someone is diagnosed with a cancer, it is very normal for the person to feel that a death sentence has been written, for the family members to get highly worried about it. But friends, I assure you that it's not always so bad. There are many instances of people whom we know who have successfully managed their emotions, managed their spirit, and come out successfully from the cancer. Louise Hay is one such leading example. Anita Murjani, another one. And even in our community, Mindful Living community, there are at least two people I know who are our speakers who have successfully battled cancer and survived. Jayashri Kannan and Anamika Chakravarti, both of them are speakers and have spoken on Mindful Living platform. In case you would like to check out their videos, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, the link of which we are sharing in the chat, and you can access the recording to their sessions. So the session today is by Dr. Nupur Agarwal, and it is in this context to help people strategies that can help them heal themselves from this, that can help them deal with the challenges once this disease is diagnosed for someone. And Dr. Nupur Agarwal is eminently qualified to speak on this topic. She's a medical doctor who has transitioned into mind-body medicine. She's a certified meditation teacher specializing in medical hypnosis for subconscious mind reprogramming. She has been actively working at NHS Hospital for last couple of years and has helped many cancer patients deal with their conditions. Her work has been published, and not only published, it has won awards at the leading medical conferences. So, Dr. Nupur, on that note, welcome to you for the session, to the session today.
Thank you so much, Ashish. And I would like to thank everybody for taking out their time on Saturday. It really is lovely to see so many of you. And thank you to Mindful Living community for spreading so much awareness on a much needed and a very powerful topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nupur. Some of you, friends, are joining our session for the first time. If you're joining a Mindful Living session for the first time, please type FT in the chat box. Please type FT in the chat box if you're joining a Mindful Living session for the first time. Thank you, Dr. Urmi. Anyone else is joining the session for the first time? Please type FT. Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you, Vinod. So many of you are joining Mindful Living session for the first time. So allow me a minute to introduce myself. My name is Ashish Kumar, and I am the founder of Mindful Living. I started Mindful Living in 2018. Prior to that, I worked in the corporate sector in senior management roles with leading Indian and multinational organizations. During the years of my working in the corporate sector, I saw at close quarters how stressed the employees in the corporate sector are, and how this stress takes a toll on their health, happiness, and well-being. Being a certified mindfulness teacher myself, I thought that there is immense need for taking the message of living consciously to the corporate sector, and we founded Mindful Living to help spread the message of living consciously in the corporate sector. Over the last 5 years, we have conducted over 300 sessions for leading organizations that include Aditya Birla Group, Tata Group, IBM, EXL, Swiggy, Schneider, Signify, HDFC Life, Kotak Life, and many other organizations. The session today is being organized as a part of the Mindful Living community, which started in April 2020 when the first lockdown happened. Few of my friends reached out to me and requested me to conduct a mindfulness session for them to help them deal with the stress and anxiety that the lockdown was causing. So over a weekend, I conducted a session on mindfulness for them. It helped them, and one thing led to the other. And today we have become a community of 3,000 people who connect regularly on weekends and during the weekdays to practice and learn about living mindfully. If you would like to be a part of this awesome community, please click on the link that we are sharing in the chat and join the group. This is a very safe space. There is no fees. There is no agenda. We don't encourage political or religious discussions, and it's a safe space. Everybody is encouraged to respect the other members, be non-judgmental about what people are sharing. So it becomes a very safe space for people to come, share, learn, and explore about living mindfully. Today's session, few housekeeping rules. Please use the reactions button to appreciate if you like something that Dr. Nupur is sharing. Clap, thumbs up, show love, or raise hand in case you have a question to ask. Even though the question answer sessions have been kept for the last, in between, if you have a point to make, you can type in the chat and we will take note of that. And whenever there is a section break, then maybe we will take up those questions. So please keep your cameras on and be actively engaged in the session today. On that note, over to you, Dr. Nupur.
Thank you, Ashish. Can I check if my audio is right?
Yeah, we are audible, Dr. Nupur.
Yeah, thank you so much. Wonderful. So I shall just wait for Ashish to release the presentation so that then I can.
You could share, Dr. Nupur.
Yeah, now it's, yes, thank you. I just wanted to look at everybody who has very sweetly put on their cameras. Always good to see faces and not blank screens. As a presenter, it can get very frustrating to have people on camera off mode. So if you are here, I would request you to honor mindful living, honor the speaker and yourselves as well by putting on the cameras. Thank you very much. And cancer is the big C word that is kind of very prevalent in our society. So it is a privilege that, I get to speak to all of you about it, because we all know the do's and don'ts of it. I'm not going to go too much in details of that, but I just want to thank Mindful Living for actually creating on this special day a platform where we can talk about some things that has impacted so many of us. I mean, it's almost become like we all have common cold in the society. We have, we all know of people either in our neighborhoods, in our families, in our workplaces who have been diagnosed with cancer. It's not just for those who have the diagnosis, but also for the carers, for the people who are caring for somebody who is going through this diagnosis, that it's important for us to understand what can we do better? What can we do to help them? And what can we do to help ourselves? And also, if you have somebody who's going through this in your um, immediate neighborhood, in your workplace, how can we be more compassionate? How can we be more empathetic in the right way? Sometimes we don't realize that, the emotional and the mental trauma we could be causing somebody by our questions, by our line of thinking. And so this is something my intention today is going to be speaking a lot about those aspects that are kind of overlooked, because it's a very vast topic, and I will be speaking by the grace of the people that I've worked with. So all gratitude to my patients who I have interacted with the last 7 years, not just in India, but in UK as well, because I've been working, as Ashish said, in National Health Services. It's a privilege to be able to help somebody going through such an intensely difficult phase of their life. So everything that I'll be sharing today has a very robust research in it. It has a lot of evidence. It's evidence-based, and it is something that has been tried and tested. So on that note, my friends, let me share my presentation with you all. Every now and then, to engage with you all, I will keep switching off the presentation because I can't see everybody when I'm on the presentation on mode. Also, if you have any questions, hold on to them. Every now and then we will be, addressing them, and we will be taking the Q&A more so towards the end of the session. So the focus today would be on understanding how do we accept and how do we go beyond the fear and the suffering. Some of us may be going through this diagnosis, some of us may be coaches, some of us may be just doctors who are here. So there will be something for all of us, and some of us may be carers. So I would urge you all to listen very carefully, because you will definitely pick up something thinking that, oh, this I could integrate, this I could try, this I could do. So the only thing that I request is an open mind. So, in mind, I'm a mindfulness teacher as well. I teach mindfulness, which is a form of meditation. We say that, it's amazing to have something called the Shoshin. Shoshin in Japanese means a beginner's mind. So please sit with a beginner's mind, Shoshin as we call it, or a childlike curiosity to learn and to be open. And that doesn't mean you can't challenge me. Feel free to, if there's some concept that you feel that, oh, I don't agree with, you feel free to question me, challenge me, because I would love that. The more we can discuss certain things which are out of the ordinary, the more we can understand and adopt them in our life. And there's a beautiful quote that I love, that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So if we go ahead today, if you're listening to this talk, then please challenge this belief that suffering, I have to suffer, or this person has to suffer, because suffering can be optional, though pain is inevitable. And that's something that I want for all of us to open ourselves to receive today. Now, why have I called this a three-pronged approach in cancer care? Because physical is something that we are all focusing on in any ways, right? Physical is something that we will see and consult our physicians for, oncologists for. We will be doing the chemo, the radio, the surgery, or the entire works that are needed. The physical is something that anyways is being dealt at by our specialist, by the person who's going through this diagnosis. But the other aspects of cancer care that kind of get completely sidetracked and people don't realize how important they are the mental, emotional, and the spiritual component. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on in bringing to the table today, that please, if you know anybody or if you are going through this challenge, first of all, understand that just as important as the physical aspect of this is, so is the mental, emotional, and spiritual, if not more. And you'll be amazed by the end of the talk today if I can impress upon you that, in fact, this is where the changes happen that lead to the disturbances in our energy flow and create the physical manifestation. So it's actually, as they say, upside down. So it's literally starting from here, then going here, then here, and then this is the last space where we see manifestation. But unfortunately for us, 90% of the focus is only on this aspect. So let's understand how the mental, emotional, and the spiritual can be taken care of. First thing I would like to talk about is the emotional burden. When a person gets diagnosed with cancer, and when I was starting my journey as a clinician, my focus was on oral cancer a lot. That's the space that I specialized to work in. And then going forward, I was exposed to other head and neck cancers and other forms of blood cancers and so many more in my practice over the last, I would say, decade. The fear that comes up and the numb, you become so numb with the diagnosis because you kind of are literally hit by a ton of bricks. That's the kind of feeling and emotion that people have. The first and the foremost thing is to allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. Because the problem happens when we are telling ourselves, no, I need to be brave in the beginning. It's something that you're trying to suppress what you're feeling. And in our societies, typically in a conditioning that we are brought up in, we are told that, you have to put up a brave front. You have to appear strong. And this is something that's so important for us in the beginning. When we are going through this journey, we must understand it's okay sometimes to not be okay. And people around us will not be feeling okay. If you have a family member who's being diagnosed with it, please allow them the space to feel low. Give them the space to feel their emotions fully. Because one of the most challenging problems with emotional suppression is that our energy field gets disrupted, right? Anything that we are suppressing, we are denying, we are brushing under the carpet actually gets aggravated. So first and foremost, you will fear it, you will feel anxiety, there will be stress. Please feel it fully. Feel it fully, but also find a channel to express it. Express it. A lot of times there'll be anger as well. Why me questions will come up. So it's really important to understand that all of these questions, why me? Is it a lot of times, depending on the background that the patient I am seeing comes from, if they come from a certain background, they will think that it's a karmic punishment that they are going through. They may think that this is something that they have been cursed. So we have to be very sensitive to allow the person to, yes, this is what you're feeling, but express it. We can correct them later, but in the beginning it's important to feel it fully. We have to learn to the art of feeling our emotions fully and not pretend to be brave and not pretend to be strong, right? That will come with the journey as the journey gets progressed. Yeah. Acceptance, understanding that when you are accepting, you're not accepting, acceptance doesn't equal to defeat. A lot of times people say that if I accept this, I will feel powerless. I will feel defeated. I will feel that cancer has won. No, that's not true. What are we trying to accept? We are trying to accept the present. That today, this is how I'm feeling. Today, this is what's going on with me. Can I accept this? I'm not always saying accept the diagnosis, or, it's a funny thing that acceptance is when we are labeling, we are very, in the world that we have labeled everything. And we are very quick to label things. oh, this is this problem, this is this is cancer, this is disorder, this is multiple sclerosis, this is cystic fibrosis. We're very quick to label things. And sometimes this is also what the medicine paradigm is right now. But understand that for you, what you can accept is that my body is going through a change. If you don't want to accept the word cancer or a diagnosis which feels very fearful to you, all that you can say to yourself is, I accept that I am going through this difficulty, this challenge, and I'm going to work through it. Acceptance of what is right now is very important, because that helps you to work through it with a lot of trust. It helps you to work through it from a space that I can do something about it, rather than feeling we often hear the word that I have to fight cancer, I have to battle it out. Now this is again something I would challenge, that sometimes as I'm going to speak today, and we are going to understand, sometimes when we are fighting, when we are battling, we are resisting something. The opposite of acceptance is resistance. So how can we accept and heal rather than resist and suffer, right? So this is a paradigm that we are going to be exploring a little more on, moving from resistance to acceptance, and then healing and thriving from that. Also, when we are, and this is something not just for emotions, but this is also for our thoughts. The thoughts that we have in our mind. Now, this is something really important. What am I thinking? We have to start analyzing, and we have to just start becoming aware. It's called meta awareness, or it's called metacognition. Being aware of what's going on in my mind space, what's going on in my emotional space, what are the emotions am I feeling, what are the thoughts that I am feeling. And if you are the kind who has a habit of suppression, of avoidance, of denial, of masking, then understand that there is a lot of scientific research that is telling us now that suppression is enhancing the problem, right? In fact, it is a kind of it's almost like an oxymoron, what we call it, that when we suppress thoughts and emotions, we increase them. And when we accept thoughts and emotions, we paradoxically decrease them, right? So this is something we must all remember, that what am I trying to suppress in me, rather than accept and move through them. So, allowing yourself to feel, if you're feeling weak, if you're feeling helpless, allow yourself to say that I am feeling this way, I am fearful, I am very scared. But then, having felt them, I want you to be able to share this with somebody. If you can't do this in your family, then please find a therapist or your doctors who can recommend somebody like a coach, or somebody who's specialized in helping patients with cancer, to release and know how you can channel these emotions of anger, fear, helplessness, and anxiety. Because unless we know how to channel them, they will keep aggravating our health. This is something we must understand, that we have certain parts of us which are driven, we have parts of a nervous system which we call the sympathetic nervous system. I'm trying to put it really in a very layman terms, which we call the fight, flight, or freeze response. So when somebody is diagnosed with cancer, they get into this response, which is the fear response. And this is a part of a nervous system which is actually built to help us survive. But we are constantly in that mode of fight, flight, and freeze. And this is releasing a lot of chemicals in the body, which are pro-inflammation. They're pro-inflammatory hormones like cortisol and many others. It's a cascade. We literally have a very thriving chemical laboratory inside our body, actually. So when we are in that fear and flight response, what happens is we are not helping the cause. We are not helping our body. We already have a tumor inside. We already have a cancerous condition. But us getting into this fear response is going to further create much higher inflammatory levels of inflammatory markers and molecules in the body, which will further aggravate, right? So we have to understand that feeling our emotions fully, allowing space for people to express their helplessness, their inability to process. And we have to also understand, sometimes we have this thing, especially in our societies where people are not comfortable with crying, and especially we have this image that, men don't cry. And cancer doesn't see your gender. We have the ratios of male, female is alarmingly the same, and it has got nothing with your gender. So irrespective of who you are, what you do, you could be a CEO of a company, you could be a homemaker, you could be a male or a female, does not matter. You are feeling it, please express it, because suppression will create further sympathetic overdrive. It will cause further aggravation of your fight, flight, freeze response, fear response, and worsen the matters. So this is something that we must understand. And it's not just about the fear, anxiety, it's about a range of emotions, right? It's about understanding that this is a very, very powerful emotional guidance scale, and this is very, very much proven now. It was first introduced to us by Dr. David Hawkins, who wrote the book Power versus Force. Now, any of you who are interested in this topic, and there are almost 30 of us at this forum right now, and I'm sure there'll be many more listening to this recording later on at Mindful Living platform. Please pick up these books. Please read about these authors, because they are talking about certain aspects which we now need to know in this day and age. What they are telling us. So what Dr. David R. Hawkins did was he started calibrating various emotions at the level at which people were experiencing them. And what he realized was, and what he shared in his book, and subsequently this has been used by a lot of researchers, is that the emotions and the feelings that we have a particular vibrational frequency, right? And this is what they have mapped here, like shame. And please don't take the scale only for the emotions which are mentioned here. There is a whole range of emotions. Like, with shame, there could be other emotions involved, guilt, and there could be always sadness around. There could be resentment. There could be bitterness. All these parallel emotions are at a very low vibration of 20 to 30. Right? This is the vibrational scale, and he had his own measures by which he did this study, and then subsequently it was done in many other spaces, and they realized that different emotions have different ability to recording of the vibrations at which they were being recorded. And this is something that also was a very contracted state. In the lower emotions were very highly contracted. People were suffering these states, and their bodies were responding very similarly to that emotional bandwidth. It's almost like an emotional scale. And as you see in this emotional scale, as you start to rise up, you are vibrating at a very high frequency. The more willing you are, the more acceptance focused you are, the more in love and at peace you are vibrating at a very higher frequency. Now, this emotional vibrational scale is something for all of us to ask ourselves, what is my dominant emotional vibration? Where am I in my journey? And since we are talking about cancer, understand, please, that when we have emotions, and these are again very suppressed emotions, because in our societies, in our upbringing, in our conditioning, we are told that it's you have to be holier than thou all the time. That's the perception that we have, that you can't feel jealousy, you can't feel resentment, you can't feel shame. Well, if you are feeling that, you have to understand it's okay to feel. We are emotional beings. All that we can do is we can learn how to navigate through our emotions, release them, and then opt for a better feeling emotion. But it all starts by acceptance and allowing ourselves to feel that. And this is something really important, because we are understanding now, and this is something that's coming up more and more, that when you are suppressing these emotions, you are creating states of contractions in yourselves. You're feeling contracted. Energetically, you're feeling, emotionally, you're feeling, and plus biochemically, you're feeling. See, we have, again, as I said, we have biochemical industry literally inside us. We have some things which are called happy hormones. We have endorphins, right? When we are exercising, when we are feeling good, we have endorphins. Similarly, we have oxytocin, which is a love hormone. And then we have stress hormones. So understand, when we are feeling these intense emotions of shame, anger, guilt, resentment, bitterness, holding on and not letting go, we are creating very, very intense internal biochemical states. And this is what is causing disruption in our energy field and creating disease. If you kind of, just look at the word disease, it is dis-ease. That means there is a malfunction of ease somewhere. It's an imbalance, dis-ease. And this is exactly what's happening. So not only is this state creating our diseases, but it's also aggravating our emotional health. And understand that our thoughts have a very important part to play in our emotions. So we have to be very careful of what we are thinking. What is my thought process? Because our thoughts and emotions and our behaviors are a vicious cycle. And this, again, is a very powerful chart that I want you all to focus your attention on. The more that we are in this lower rung of vibrations, which are resentment, sadness, anger, guilt, bitterness, the more we are in this space, which is a victimization. Can you see this part of the pyramid? This is the 4 states of consciousness. And we realize that we tend to then stay in a very victimized state, which is like life happens to me. You feel helpless, you have no power, you feel that life is there to get me. Everything is like, karma is against me. Typically, I hear it if I have a patient who's coming from a particular sect of ideologies, they will feel that they are being punished for their poor karmas, or they feel that nothing has ever worked out for me. So we get into a very highly victimized state. Now, this is very important for us to understand, because unless we know it, we will not rise above from it. So if you feel that either you or somebody that you love or somebody you know who's going through cancer is not an expressive person, if that person is the person who internalizes emotions, doesn't express, if they are the kinds who are people pleasers, or they are the kinds who absorb things, and they're always thinking of others before themselves, and all range of emotions, of somebody's feeling victimized, then that's what you need to realize, that somewhere the job is to slowly guide them from this level of victimization into higher levels, right? So the victimization or the victim mindset is something we have to be very careful of. And I'm saying it's not wrong to feel victimized, but feel it, realize it, and then we need to move away from it. We need to move higher. We need to move higher in this emotional scale. Always, first step is allowing, accepting, feeling it fully. Okay, I am at the level of shame. I am at the level of, so a lot of times, like Ashish mentioned, Louise Hay. And why are we going to mention these big names is only because there has been research, they have been researched, we have evidence, whether I'm talking about Louise Hay, whether I'm talking about Anita Moorjani, I'll be talking more about them. So typically what happened was that there was, especially in Louise's case, she is no more now, she was abused, and not once, but multiple times. And she developed vaginal cancer. Now, for years on end, there was a deep sense of shame and guilt that she was riddled with very heavily, not knowing how to process it. And the cancer developed then. And of course, she healed herself from the cancer. And she is a pioneer of, an entire spectrum, and an entire different parallel paradigm of healing, which is, again, something we refer a lot in mind-body medicine, is about accepting, feeling our emotions. But till she did not realize that she was riddled with shame and guilt, she couldn't move beyond them. She didn't know, how to handle it. So first step is recognition. So if you are feeling victimized, there's nothing shameful about it, but recognize that you have to allow it, and then you have to move up from that. Because a victim mindset is never going to help anything. Because see, these are some of the typical ways of victim mindset. And recognize if to some extent you are resonating with these. Bad things always happen to me. Other people or circumstances are to be blamed for my current situation. And anything I do, nothing will work out for me. So literally, there is a very, very deep sense, and this is that lower end of the pyramid, where you feel that life is happening to me and I'm a victim. And there is a deep sense of powerlessness and helplessness here. So the biggest job for anybody who is going through a diagnosis like cancer, or somebody that you know is going through it, is to help them to first deal with this mindset and then help them get out of this mindset. This is very important. Please don't dwell in this state of victimization. And you could be not even realizing that this is my tendency. So if you're listening to this talk at whatever point in your life, please understand that this is a very, very low vibrational state. And it's almost like, what are vibrations? What are frequencies? You're going to be listening to this word a lot from me because I'm from the space of mind body medicine now, and I see this every day. And just to give you a very practical example, when we listen to radios, or when we listen to radios while we are driving, we listen to FM, right? Now, all possible channels exist in the field, or in the space. We have 96.8. We have 102.4, we have 108.5, all possible frequencies are existing parallelly, right? But you will always listen to the channel that you tune into. So that means it's really important to understand that the vibration that you're tuning into emotionally through your thoughts is the frequency at which you will vibrate, and you will attract more of that. So it's really important for us to understand that we need to first recognize where I'm vibrating at, what is my dominant thought, what is my feeling, and then slowly rise above. Now you've seen that emotional guidance scale given to us by Dr. David Hawkins, and you have also seen this 4 states of consciousness. As much as possible, feel it, accept it, and then we have to rise above it slowly and steadily. And that's the journey. And that's what I'm going to be also talking to you a little more in this, just coming to that part of the presentation where I'll tell you, how can you raise your vibration? How can you go beyond feeling that state of victimization or those emotions of resentment and anger? Another huge part of this emotional, mental, and spiritual aspect is my beliefs. Our beliefs create our reality. This is something we must understand. We may have heard of this word called personality. Personal reality. What is my reality? Because that is creating my personality. My beliefs are creating my reality. So asking yourselves, what are my beliefs around diagnosis? And that also includes what are my beliefs around how well I will become. A lot of times people feel that it is stage 4. The doctor has said it is stage 4. It is, I have only this much time. I've had the privilege of meeting patients who have got a diagnosis and prognosis that you will not survive for more than 6 months, because there was a statistical figure. And and yes, it's important for us to give prognosis also as clinicians. But it's something that you have to understand, that there have been multiple cases where people have outlived their time duration. They've outlived that death sentence that was given to them. Why? Because of their belief. Why? Because there was some energy and power inside them that said, no, I can, this is not my reality. I can outlive this. I'm fine. I can go beyond this. So your beliefs around your recovery, around your diagnosis, and beliefs on life are very important. So please check whether these beliefs are helping you. Are they contracting you, or are they expanding you? Are these beliefs creating levels of suppression, of staying in a victimized state, or feeling that everything is going against you, nothing can be done, this is karmic, this is this? All these beliefs are to a great extent very detrimental. But we need to ask ourselves, because how many of us are there on this chat? All of us will have unique beliefs. Like we have our unique thumbprints and iris scans. We do all these scans these days. These are our unique identifying features. Similarly, we have our own unique beliefs. So what are these beliefs? Because once you understand, and I would like to quote a very beautiful and a very, very prolific spiritual teacher. Her name is Byron Katie. Byron Katie has done a lot of work in belief management. So if you are a person who is struggling with beliefs which are very self-detrimental, you believe that, it's funny that when I'm dealing with the side effects of chemotherapy, and I'm working with patients who have side effects of chemo and radio, They, sometimes a person, because now we have so much information out in the media, people believe that when I'm going through this chemotherapy, I will lose hair, I will have this, I will have that. And the beliefs are so strong that even before they set out to start on their chemotherapy, they're going with that belief, this is killing my cells, this is killing my healthy cells, this is causing me to lose my hair, I'll get a lot of nausea, I'll have a lot of vomiting. Now, when I am dealing with these patients, I'm telling them that please go with this belief that yes, I'm getting chemotherapy, but this chemotherapy is nothing but it's what's keeping me alive. It's a blessing. And this is what is helping my body to heal, right? This is what is going to help my, and you go with the belief that my healthy cells are so strong that they are not succumbing to this drug. Only my cancer cells are getting affected. And you work with that belief and you'll be amazed that if on a scale of 0 to 10, if they were supposed to have 10 on 10 nausea, vomiting, they would only have 2 to 3. Such reduction in this. So the beliefs are really important. Please know that you have the power to change your beliefs, the beliefs around life. A lot of times I get patients whose family have a family history of cancer in their family. And they say that my father got diagnosed at the age of 50 and I'm already 48. And I have only 2 years left. And my grandfather also got diagnosed. Sometimes we are believing these things to the fact that we create our realities. We have to understand that, no, we have a science. Okay, genetics is a very powerful science, but we have a science called epigenetics. Epigenetics is a science which is telling us we may have those genes, but what switches on or switches off that gene is also very important. That gene may never get switched on in you. So change your beliefs. So this is something we have to understand. What are my beliefs? If I think something is going to happen to me, invariably it will happen. So there is a saying that whether you think you can or whether you think you cannot, you're absolutely right. So please understand that your beliefs are very, very critical. A lot of times, also coming to the point of beliefs, I would like to add before we get into the next section, is that a lot of times people believe that this chemotherapy, I don't want to go the conventional way. Chemotherapy, radiotherapy is not for me. They will not work for me. There is a very deep belief in that. Well, if that is your belief, then please explore parallel. We have a lot of parallel options for healing and for getting better. So ask yourself, what do I believe in? What do you think will help me? What will help me to heal? And then you choose your medical staff, you choose your healthcare staff accordingly. I just recently had a patient who told me that, I am going homeopathy route because I feel allopathy is not for me. Allopathy has never helped me. And through the main allopathy system, they were given only 6 months to survive, and she had breast cancer, and this was 20 years back. Now this person, and I'm by no means I'm trying to tell you that no, this is right or that is wrong. That's not my place to tell you. But all that I'm just giving you, I'm sharing stories with you from my experience, so that that you have possibilities. You are nobody's going to force you to do anything. So ask yourself, what do you believe in truly? She went through the homeopathy route, and she is now 75-year-old and thriving, not surviving, just. Right? So ask yourself, because if your belief is so strong that something is not going to help me, it will not help you. By all means, explore, talk to your consultants, but then choose a treatment path that supports you, that supports your trust, your philosophies, your life ideologies, that rings true to you. Again, sometimes people say that, oh yes, diet is a very important part, but you are so obsessed with juicing, you're so obsessed with eating broccolis and everything, but you're doing it from an energy of fear. Whatever you're doing with energy of fear and panic is not going to be helpful in the body or in your energy field at all. So understand that. And when a person is going through a diagnosis as severe as cancer, you get bombarded with information. Your doctors are telling you something, your family is telling you something, your friends are telling you something. It's overwhelming for that patient, for that person. They're being labeled that they have this diagnosis. So it's very important to separate yourself from all of this go inwards and ask yourself, what is it that I want? Listen to everybody, but trust and go with what feels right to you, right? So what is our journey? We don't have to battle anything. We don't have to fight anything. We just have to slowly accept and very lovingly move from this surviving mode to thriving mode. So I want us to all shift our gears to say to ourselves that this diagnosis is not a death sentence for me. I can still live a life of dignity, of joy and fulfillment with whatever is my diagnosis, because I just don't believe in surviving and struggling. From now on, shifting the mindset to thriving and see the difference in that. I am thriving. I'm powerful. Some of the strategies that I want you to all listen today, what I can share from this is from my experience with those wonderful patients that have taught me so much. And all of these strategies work to 100%. The only difference is that not every strategy may ring true for every person. So pick out what works well for you. But something that I want you to all understand is that we can't outsource our health. We can't outsource our diseases to other people. It's your body. It's your diagnosis. You have to know that you can do something to help yours. You are as much a part of the healing team as the doctors are. In fact, you are more the healing team because you are the instrument which can enable healing. So please don't feel helpless. In fact, there is so much that you can do, so much, in fact, much more that you can do to help the healing to happen rather than just outsourcing it to your doctors or to the team, right? So belief remodeling, changing your mindset. Is this belief pro-life? Is this belief helping me? I have been living with this belief and this mindset for so long, but now can I change it? Now is my time to start living it. I have had the privilege, as I was saying, and a lot of times I see people who are in remission. Remission is when they have received that they don't have cancer anymore. And I ask them, because I will be sharing a lot of things with you today, and I have a set of questions for the people who are in remission, and I ask them, what has this journey taught you? What has this journey about, and how do you feel now having gone through what you went through? And I would tell you this honestly, hand on heart, 7 out of 10 people have told me, I'm just saying statistically, it was the best thing that happened to me. It was life altering. It has changed the way I was thinking. It has changed my quality of life and my perceptions. It has literally cleaned up a lot of cobwebs in my life. So changing the mindset is something very powerful. Mindfulness, self-love. Anita Moorjani talks a lot about self-love. If you're hearing the word Anita Moorjani for the first time, she had stage 4 lymphoma. She was bedridden, literally. Her systems were shutting down. And at this point in time, when she was almost declared clinically dead, she entered a state which we call near-death experiences, NDEs. And she entered a paradigm beyond the physical body. And she's written all of this in a beautiful book called Dying to Be Me. If you know a person going through cancer or you are going through cancer, please pick up this book and you must read it. Because this is an account of a person who was dying of cancer. She explores a paradigm, she goes through a paradigm where she understands a lot of information of why it happened, what was going on, and how can somebody heal themselves from this. And see, the thing is, you must understand this. Okay, Anita Moorjani came back from her NDE and within 2 months she was fine. Her cancer was healed miraculously. And this is a documented case history. So, this is something that is very well documented. It's not something it's not airy-fairy that I'm sharing here. It's a very, very diagnosed and clinical case history, what we call. Now, you may say that, okay, but I haven't had an NDE. We don't need to have an NDE. Now, not all of us need to have a near-death experience. And maybe some of us will transition this earthly plane. See, all of us, one thing that's final is death. We must understand that is the finality of our human life, that the only thing certain is that we all are going to transition out of this realm of this physical bodies. For us, sometimes it could be a diagnosis like cancer that will create that shift for us. But that's not the point. The point is, how do you live with what you have right now to the highest, with the best and the highest level of quality of life and the perception, highest and the best perception. Exiting out of this paradigm, transitioning out is not failure. It's not a defeat, right? So the point that I'm trying to make is, if Anita Moorjani got cured and somebody else hasn't got cured of cancer because of that, doesn't mean that what she's sharing is less important. It's life altering what she's sharing in that book. That she's telling us that, loving ourselves can feel like a cliche in our societies, but understand that if you don't have self-love, you are causing cellular death in your body. Love is the oxygen of our human cells. Energetically, that's what we need to survive, thrive, and to actually excel in our lives. So I'm not going to go into the details of everything, but please understand that all of these strategies to thrive is something I want you to take a screenshot of and then ask yourself, what can I change here? Laughter. There have been cases where people have healed themselves laughing. They have actually used the power of laughter, because I have shared, you will receive this. I have shared a case study of how laughter creates the biochemicals in the body, which actually help with pain management. There have been many cases where people have healed themselves of laughter, deep belly laughing. We have something called laughter yoga in this country, right? So these things can do huge shifts. Power of perception. If you perceive something to be a particular way, that becomes your reality. If you think it's a death sentence, it will be a death sentence. If you think it's going to be a new way of living and it's going to change the way are living, the quality of it will change that. How are you interpreting a life situation? You have that power in your hands. A lot of times people understand that they have been living from pressures rather than passions. Pressures of life, pressures of expectations, pressures of society, of family. And passion gets completely out of the window. So what is it that you're passionate about? Bringing your passion back, living for yourself. Understanding the power of gratitude and appreciation. If you remember that emotional guidance scale, as we are going up, we are going into higher vibration states in that. And a short way to take us up in that scale is gratitude and appreciation. You have to understand that by using gratitude, suppose somebody has cancer in the beginning, maybe it's in a particular part of the body, liver, for example, or breasts, or anywhere in the body. You have the rest of the body that is working well. But our focus gets only on that part of the body or on only that organ that's unwell. Everything is done only for that. We forget that we can still walk, we can still breathe, we can still taste, we can still see. So please understand that focusing on what is working well for us is what is going to create the conditions for the body to heal, not by getting obsessed with what's not working. So how can I shift my focus? How can I increase gratitude and appreciation? We have done a lot of work on gratitude and appreciation. It is a very, very, very big shape shifter. The biggest energy shifter is this gratitude and appreciation. And then something is, again, understanding, developing your inner GPS. Inner GPS is your intuitive knowing. Our bodies are not just a machine. It is a very, very high intelligence. It's a field of intelligence. We are not just some random cells put together to form organs and organ systems. Imagine when you're sleeping at night, this body is breathing by itself. The heart is beating by itself. This is a very, very, very powerful field of intelligence. And now we know through meditation, through this getting into silence, we can actually access this intelligence. So please know that sometimes the fear will come into the way, or these emotions, unless we feel them fully, they will numb you. But your intention is, how do I access my inner guidance, my inner knowingness? Because the more you can go inward, the more you will allow yourself to heal. Because you will get guidance of what next to do, what is best for you, right? Not as a statistic or a number, but for you as a living being, right? So this is something we must understand. This is the way you will empower, hasten your highest, and move into that space of thriving. Writing your healing prescription. This is something we're going to be sharing in the next slide, but this is again something. Don't just be dependent on the prescription that are given to us by our doctors, okay, by the healthcare staff, by the nurses. Please create your own healing prescription. And if today you can do that, you will be amazed that maybe today you will write only one thing. I will laugh more. I will love myself more. How? Self-love is a whole new paradigm. Please look up Louise Hay work. You'll understand Anita Moorjani's work. Self-love has so much, it is such a loaded topic that you can start to do. Maybe in the beginning, your healing prescription will be only two things. As you get used to it, as you start feeling well and good and positive, you will start increasing the list in your healing prescription. But now the shift is that you are in charge. You are in charge, and you are not somebody who is just surrendered in a complacent way to what is happening. Okay, surrender is a very powerful tool, but not when you are doing it in a very, very helpless way. The next thing that's really important to thrive is asking yourself, what discharges my batteries? We all have batteries. All have cell phones these days. Most of us have smart cell phones, right? And we know when the phone discharges, it is of no use. We need to plug it in, charge it. Similarly, our life force, our bodies. Like a battery, we have something called the life force energy in us. We have to ask ourselves, what depletes my life force energy and what invigorates and fills my life force energy? This is very important, because the more you understand what makes you happy, what ticks you, what tickles you, what is your passion question, what makes you thrive, what makes you wake up in the morning. And sometimes when a person is diagnosed with cancer, it can feel very like you're walking with the all caught up in chains. It can feel like a drudgery, waking up in the mornings and another day to handle and take care of. So small and simple things that charge your batteries and increases your life force energy. It could be something as simple as going for a walk, sitting in the sunshine if you're in a cold climate, and just listening to good music, high vibrational music. It could be listening to some podcasts by people who inspire you. It could be something as simple as sitting in a coffee shop and having once in a while that, we are so when you're going through a diagnosis as cancer, you are so obsessed with eating clean and eating healthy that if you're even denying yourself the simple pleasure of having a chocolate. What is it that makes me happy? Because in the beginning, you will feel like a completely discharged life force energy. Slowly, as you start doing one thing at a time, you will be amazed how much your life force energy gets higher, right? So this is something we must ask ourselves. In fact, make a list of things that discharge your life force energy and things that enhance your life force energy. And you'll be amazed that so many things that are discharging you are things that you need to avoid doing. Maybe talking about your condition to everybody. When we are talking, oh, I have cancer, I'm going through this, and this is so hard. This is again creating that field. So don't spend your so much time in discussing this unless it is needed by, only discuss it with healthcare staff. You don't have to keep talking about this all the time on the phone with people. So, that might be discharged. So stop doing that. Do something else instead. Telling people, I am on the road of recovery, things are getting better for me, I'm feeling healthier. So this is again something very powerful. Now, the self-prescription that I was talking to you about, please start to write yourself a thriving prescription. And that includes what beliefs am I, what positive beliefs can I include? You have to start by believing that I can heal and my body is healing and I'm going to be well. Start writing what charges my batteries, get the right support, tap into your intuition, communicate with the body's intelligence. You can speak to your body listens to you. If tonight you sleep and tell yourself, I'm going to wake up at 7:30 in the morning, it's a Sunday, and if you're not flying anywhere, you're not going anywhere, you will be amazed that you don't need an alarm. Your body, your mind will wake you up at that time. Experiment with this. Bang at 7:30, if you've told yourself, I want to wake up at that moment without an alarm, you will wake up. Experiment because your body listens to you. So start understanding the art of communicating with the intelligence of your body. Intuitively explore the root cause of your illness. This is something very, very important. As I was talking about in the first slide, that diseases happen in the energy field at the emotional and the mental level, and the physical is the last manifestation. Unfortunately, that's the only space most of us work in, only physical. So understand that there could be a root cause of your illness, could be. And that has to be done in a very clinical way. You have to find out intuitively, okay, if you could speak, I'm going to come to this slide actually first, and then I'm going to back to the next slide. If you could speak to this pain, this tumor, this disease, what is it telling you? Why has it come up? Are there any hidden, buried, suppressed emotions in this pain? This is something really important, because when I am doing the subconscious reprogramming for somebody with cancer, I ask them, okay, you have this tumor here, or you have this cancerous growth in the body. What is it that what comes out for you here? Are there any hidden, very suppressed emotions? Are there any traumas that have got repressed and suppressed? Because cellular memory is really important. Energetically, has there been a constriction in the body? So you can speak and ask yourself these key questions. What is this pain trying to tell me? You'll be amazed at the messages that you will start receiving subconsciously. And those are the things that you need to let go of. Those are the things that you need to process, because you have actually stored them in the body. They need to be released to allow healing to happen. What do I need to let go to heal? Letting go is a huge aspect of the healing journey. What am I holding on to? What grudges am I holding on to? What resentments am I holding on to? What past traumas am I holding on to? What do I need to allow to heal? I need to slow down sometimes. Sometimes I need to trust more. So asking yourself these questions, please take a screenshot of this slide. This is something that you need to do in your time, your me time. This is a part of self-love. Asking yourself these high quality questions. What does my body need in order to heal? Maybe your body needs a different kind of intervention. Maybe your body needs a lot of love from you. Maybe your body needs a different kind of attention and rest from you, right? What would I do if this diagnosis was magically taken away from me? Now, this is a very, very high quality question. If you look at the work of Anita Moorjani or Dr. Joe Dispenza, they specify on this question. You have got a label, you've got a diagnosis, and everything in life gets focused on that. You forget gratitude, you forget appreciation of what's going right for you. But now, I'm not saying taking the diagnosis means taking over the treatment. You do the treatment, you do whatever needs to be done, but drop the diagnosis. And ask yourself, suppose I had a clean chit of health. Suppose my doctor said today, you are cancer free, you are completely healed, you're cured. What will I do with my life? Now I have a new lease to life. What will I do? Start doing these things right now. I'm going to go spend more time. Maybe I'm going to enroll for that class that I've always wanted to learn. Maybe I wanted to learn an instrument. Maybe I wanted to try and change my career. Maybe I wanted to get out of this toxic relationship that I'm in. What is it that you would do to live your life fully? That is what you need to start doing right now, because that's what's going to put you on pedestal, like a high-speed network railway of healing. We all know we have goods train, then we have got passenger trains, and then we have got these high-speed trains, which are jet setters. We need to be on a jet setting mode of healing, only by doing things that we love. Drop the diagnosis and shift on life, not on death. Shift to thriving, not on fearing or suffering. Right? So these questions are going to be very, very paramount. And not just if you have cancer, but any other chronic health challenge. Please ask yourself these questions. I'm going to go back to the previous slide now. So this is a huge part of your self-prescription. And the last one is surrender. A surrender that comes from a space of knowing. It's like surrender is what an farmer does. A farmer, when he plants the seed in the soil, he doesn't keep going digging and looking if it's growing, if it's shooting up, if it is growing roots, if it's sprouting. He trusts. He'll water the seed. He'll know that it'll sprout at the right time. The crop will grow. So like a farmer, like a loving parent, you need to trust. You need to surrender. That's the surrender, that I have sown the seed, it'll sprout in the right time. You have to trust the life force energy and know that eventually I'll be healthy. I am going to be fine. And that's true, actually. If you read the book by Anita Moorjani, even if we feel that somebody has passed away because of cancer, they haven't lost the battle. They have gone to a dimension that is that's beyond the mind body, but it is a very, very complete dimension, right? So you actually are, there is a part of all of us that is always healthy, right? And when we are shifting our focus, this is something I'm going to talk about a little more in this slide. There are certain powerful perspectives that I want you to go away with today. These powerful perspectives are going to be something that you may not resonate with all of them, but it's worth knowing for you that we have a superpower of visualization. It's a superpower. It's not, as children, we all do that. As adults, we forget it. But now we know that our brains don't know the difference from real and imagined. There's a lot of neuroscientific evidence here, right? So that means you can imagine and visualize healing. And you have to do that. Your consultants can't visualize for you. Please visualize the tumor regressing, the cells being released, the toxins being flushed out. Because what you visualize, the body starts to believe. And then the body starts to orchestrate healing like that. And this is something which I have seen happen in years after years, that the power of visualization has helped in healing processes miraculously. Energy flows where attention goes. Where is my attention right now? What am I focusing on? Am I focusing on only death, disease, struggle, strife, by talking about it, by listening about it? Or can I shift my attention into more life-affirming things? Can I hear high-quality things? Can I speak high-quality words? Right? Wherever you are putting your attention, that's where the energy flows, and that's what blossoms in your life. So this is something very important. The observer effect. This is from quantum field. Observer effect says that when we change the way we look at something, the thing we look at changes. So suppose you're a carer for a person who's going through cancer, or you have cancer yourself. Please change the way you look at this person. If you're going to look at them with feeling that they are helpless, we have a tendency to make them feel very, very as if something bad has happened to them. No, you have to change the way you're looking at it. You have to look at them as empowered beings, spiritual beings who are going through a life experience that is teaching not just them, but you as well. Right? So when you change the way you look at something, the thing you look at also changes. When you change the way you look at cancer, that's why I say you don't have to fight it, battle it, struggle against it. Make it something that you are looking at with a lot of love. This is also a part of my body. This is in my body. Can I heal it through loving energy, through acceptance, rather than through avoidance or resistance? So change the way you're looking at it. Law of least resistance. What you resist persists. So ask yourself, what is it that I'm resisting in my life? What am I going against? It's almost like you're flowing against the current. You have to start changing all of these things for yourself now. You have to allow yourself to be in a state of flow, effortless flow. Magic of words. This is very important. Spellings. What does spellings mean? You're casting a spell. When you spell something, you're casting a spell. That means choose your words wisely because they are becoming your reality. If you're going to keep saying these things, that yes, it is very difficult. It has spread everywhere. It may be what the doctors have told you. But if you keep reiterating that, that's what's going to get absorbed in your subconscious mind all the time. So you have to change your narrative, because what you say becomes your reality. That's why the word spellings, you're casting a spell. So please start using very high vibrational words and the narrative that you want for yourself rather than what you don't want for yourself. Lightening your load, please start to unburden yourself. Ask yourself, what can I let go of from the emotional, mental bodies? What am I holding on to? What is my perception of the world? All of this is something, the power of perception. If you think that way, it will definitely be that way. So to heal, you have to start to change your perception. You are not matter, you are energy. Now this is a game changer. If you think you're just this mind body, everything will be just that. But the day you start realizing, and this is not just through spirituality that I'm talking about, this is science. Please read, focus on reading high quality informative material. Read about the works of all the quantum scientists that are telling us you are not matter, you are more space and energy. You're vibrational beings. Read the work of Anita Moorjani. You'll understand that we all have a huge dimension. It's almost like three states of water, of the molecule water. It exists as ice, it exists as water, it exists as vapor. So think of that analogy. The ice is the most dense form, that is the human body. There is another state which is more fluid, which is the flow state, which is the liquid water state. And then there is another ether state, which is the vapor state. We are actually more energy than matter. If you change that and if you understand how that works, you will start understanding this is not the only reality, right? And the healing starts happening at a much, much faster rate when you get into the dimension of energy, right? And then there's a very beautiful philosophy of Wabi Sabi. It's a Japanese philosophy, which talks about the fact that time, death are all real for us. It's a very beautiful philosophy that talks about looking for the love for in the imperfect things. When you're going through surgeries, when you're going through mastectomies, when you have scars on the body, when you have had organs removed from the body, people feel less than. You know, I've had young girls who have had mastectomies when they've got their breast removed after breast cancer, and people lose hair and they feel so ashamed. They feel so low, they feel so contracted, as if cancer wasn't enough. Now I have to live with this for the rest of my life. This philosophy is telling us, love your imperfections, because there is nothing called imperfections. This is a beautiful part of Wabi Sabi, is a aspect called kintsugi. Kintsugi is actually where they, if this was actually a broken vase, the pieces of this bowl were broken and they were then glued together by something called the golden fluid. It's called the golden lacquer. And this brings the bowl together. But now they say that it's in fact looking so beautiful. If I hadn't told you it's broken, probably you wouldn't even know it. The beauty doesn't get diminished. In fact, it gets enhanced. So love your scars, love your so-called perceived imperfections, because that's who you are, right? So understand that either we can be in our victim stories or we can expand our horizons, grow and look for more powerful perspectives to what we are going through. It's not going to be easy to live with scars. It's not going to be easy to live in a physical form of a female with breasts removed. But yes, that's your reality now. And that's a beautiful reality. In your society, when you meet friends, colleagues, family members, don't make them feel less than. If you see them with scars or with operations, please understand that they are actually whole and complete and very beautiful. And that's why please do read about this beautiful concept of kintsugi and wabi sabi. It's a Japanese philosophy. So with that, my friends, I'm going to now open the floor for some questions, if your reflections, your sharings. And I hope that this has enabled you to slowly start to challenge your thought processes and your perceptions about cancer and how you are going through the journey. I have actually not shared too much about the tools and techniques because there is no end to tools and techniques. I can talk about emotional freedom technique that I do. I can talk about subconscious reprogramming or mindfulness that we do. But reflexology, all of these are there for you to explore. But these are certain things that you can actually integrate today in your life. That's the intention. I wanted to keep it completely on this focused on the emotional and the mental aspect. So maybe we will just talk about one or two things right now, and I'll hand it back to Ashish, and I'll do another round of Q&A towards the end. So any thoughts, any comments right now that anybody wants to share? Thank you. Yes, Dr. Urmi, you want to unmute yourself?
Hi everyone, and thank you for an excellent presentation. I have a share and I have two questions actually.
Okay, maybe we'll take one question now, and depending on the time, then I will ask Ashish to, but please go ahead.
Sure. So 10 years back, I came across Louis Hay's You Can Heal Your Life, and I've been studying it. And the moment I started sharing it with people around me, they thought I'm going crazy. So I stopped sharing it, and then I used it on myself. So I used different techniques. But the concept that we can go through this was instilled then. And I was actually looking for something where we can bridge the gap between modern science and the energy medicine. And today I'm very happy that somebody is doing it. So I have been working with mindfulness on myself and people around me for some time. My main question is how to guide others in this program, because I know I have done it on myself for skin rashes, for migraines, for sacroiliitis, many other things. But when people are around, because sometimes they come up with expectations. Okay, now heal me. I said no, it doesn't work. You have to go to the depth of it. You have to study. You have to give it the time, and not just time, but change the way of life. It's total paradigm shift. So how can we support and carry forward this work?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Urmi, first of all, for being a light in your own life and for others. This is something that more and more doctors need to be doing as well. What I can share with you is that be very patient, because it's a paradigm that it's not, see, this existed before the modern medicine came up. Our ancestors knew all of this. This is the way they heal themselves. But for the last, I would say 50, 100 years, we have been over-focused on the medicine, which is very research-based, very drug-based, very chemical-based, right? But everybody intuitively knows what I was sharing today, or what Louise Hay has been telling us, and other pioneer teachers, is true. But we have to just be a little patient. And by doing these talks, do small workshops, spread, so this is completely being brought to you by Mindful Living for free. Nobody's trying to get anything from here. So doing selfless service is something I feel very important, because now each of you who have heard this can go and spread this in your network, share books with people. And secondly, understand that integrate this as a part of your work. When I was doing clinical work, I started doing this parallelly in the beginning, and slowly I completely transitioned into mind body medicine. Also, what I would request people is to understand that you need to be not hesitant to pay for these services. So if you're going to somebody to get your car repaired, a mechanic, you will pay them for these services. Sometimes we expect anything which is beyond medicine to be free. If you're going to a reflexologist or a massage therapist, that will really help. Deep tissue massage is so detoxifying. So if you're going to a masseuse, it's as important for you as going to a skin specialist, and paying thousands of rupees to a skin specialist, but thinking, oh, why should I pay even 500 rupees to a massage therapist? Please change your mindset. We need to know that anything that is of high quality needs an energy exchange in the form of money, which is also energy. So we must do that. And secondly, we must also not expect miracles in the beginning. It takes time for these things to work out. So Dr. Urmi, we just need to be patient. We need to keep going. We need to keep educating. I've been doing this for 7 years. By God's grace, I am still very motivated that, even if one person can start doing their self-healing prescriptions, will make a change. So that's all I can say. Just trust and take time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And can you share the name of the book by Dr. Hopkins?
Power versus force.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll take your next question towards the end. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Urmi, for your question, and thank you, Dr. Nupur, for such a wonderful session. There is an outpouring of love in the chat. Really appreciate everybody for sharing their feedback. We will also like you to fill out a feedback form, which the link of which we are sharing in the chat. It will take you only 30 seconds to fill out that feedback form. Please take this time and type FD once you have filled out the feedback form. And while you're filling out the feedback form, let me also share with you about the session we have planned for you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So fill out the feedback form and type FD. Thank you, Sini. Friends, our session tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. is about choosing consciously. Our life is a sum total of the choices we make. Like joining the session today morning was a choice you made. And like that, we make many choices, sometimes consciously, many a times unconsciously. And that drives our life forward. So tomorrow morning we have this session. The link of that is also being shared in the chat in case you would like to join this session tomorrow. This includes a 20 minutes mindfulness meditation. Then you can sign on the click on the link and join the session tomorrow. And I understand that we are beyond our closing time. So if anybody would like to leave the session, you could do that. Thank you very much for taking out time and joining the session today. For those of you who have questions, may stay back. And those of you who are leaving can catch up the recording, can watch the recording of the session, which we are going to share on the Mindful Living YouTube channel. The link was shared in the chat. You could click on the link and join the YouTube channel to watch the recording later. You could take a screenshot of this free resources that Dr. Nupur has been talking about, mentioning about in her session. We will also be sharing this over an email with you. So don't worry if you're not able to take a screenshot. We will share them with you later. So on that note, we will open up this session for question and answers once again. You could raise your hands like Dr. Urmi did, and then we will take the questions from you.
Sorry.
Yes, please go ahead. Ashish, maybe Sarika first?
Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Nupur. So I am the carer actually. So it's my mom who recently got diagnosed with oral cancer on the right side. So she went through surgery, right hemiglossoptomy, and some nodes for the neck also has been removed, some 17 nodes. She's highly diabetic and she's 57 years old. Of course, this is a great session. Thank you so much for putting everything together. This is quite helpful. I'm actually, looking for such sessions so that I can get motivated. So my question is, of course, looking at her age and all of that, right? Her understanding is mostly into religiously, spiritual. So she thinks it's her karma. she thinks she has done something, bad in the past. So this is happening to me. She also believes that she has to go through this. She's a pretty strong woman right from her, from a pretty long time. But then again, she struggles a lot with, now she's going through radiotherapy, chemo, and all of that. Being diabetic, right? Her ulcers, within a week, she developed ulcers all through her mouth, lips, and all. So, I mean, how should she go about it, and what can I tell her? Because this is a lot of information that maybe she will not be able to process, and it's too overwhelming for her. So any tips or suggestions would be very helpful.
Yes, Sarika, thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for stepping up and asking this question. I'm sure you'll be answering many people's concerns as a carer. Carers, Sarika, are just as important in this journey, and we wanted to include a lot of content for carers, but I knew that this session will not be able to do justice to them. So maybe sometime in the future. First thing is that you have to start, don't try to change her in a drastic way. Give her the space and the time and the freedom to be who she is. You have to start seeing her as the observer effect says in that light. You have to start seeing her as somebody who's whole and complete and healthy, and who's getting healthier and stronger, right? For you, that's something that you have to start, and keeping your life force energy up. You remember that slide, you have to also start, you if you are discharged, and if you are very low on energy, you are going to be not be, we can't pour from an empty cup. So you have to be full. So you have to first take care of yourself, and I know it's difficult. So how, whatever you can do for your healing prescription, that's as much important for you as it is for her. So that's you in a very, very nutshell, which I haven't even done much justice to. Apologies. But coming to your mom, the powerful beliefs have to be driven from her belief system. If she is very religious and if she is very spiritual, use that as a means of strengthening her belief. So, like, I'm just going to quote Ramana Maharishi. He's a non-dual teacher, and he had also cancer.
And
Now,
she believes him a lot. So yeah, thank you so much for this example.
So I see, I mean, this is again something that, probably Ramana only has prompted me to speak.
Yeah.
Ask her to trust and just surrender to the fact that there is a force taking care of everything. Sun rises on time, Earth is in its orbit, Earth hasn't fallen off. We are a ball floating in the space. So there is a life force, universal field of an intelligence that is taking care of everything. Tell her to be so strong in her faith, because she's already so religious and spiritual, that she surrenders to that power so fully and believes that nothing can go. She is being taken care of fully. She will come out of this absolutely well. She will get stronger and very, very positive from this, because she believes in that power. Let her surrender and trust that everything is going for her highest good. And just having this mantra, this affirmation that universe is supporting me unconditionally, Ramana has my back, and I am being guided. Everything is working out for my highest good, and my healing is happening in the best possible way. If she believes in karma, then that means she's believing something has created this. So tell her that, okay, mama, what can I release? What you feel you need to release. If you've been holding on to any grudges, if you've been holding on to any sadness, any bitterness, release that. Let go. Keep releasing, and keep inviting powerful emotions of the fact that, body, I'm grateful. Okay, I've lost a part of my tongue, but a part of my tongue is still there. I'm grateful for that. Focus on helping her speak, go to speech therapist so that she can speak better. Focus on what is still here and getting better with that. With ulcers, I have worked a lot with ulcers as a result of chemo radio for oral cancer patients. Subconscious reprogramming is very powerful, Sarika. So asking, if you can contact Ashish Amit later on, we will teach you. In fact, I have done a program on subconscious reprogramming. There is a YouTube video of that. Please listen to that video. You'll understand this whole concept that we can speak to our body, we can reduce our pain, and we can reduce this thing. I've worked extensively with this, and I've shared that in that video. to listen to the video on subconscious reprogramming that just happened in January, right? And we can share a lot of free content that we have delivered. And please share, you listen to them first and deliver to her in bite-sized pieces, right? So that will really help in the first instance.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarika. Mahesh, would you like to go next, please?
Mahesh, could you put your camera on, please?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for such a wonderful session. Extremely relatable, extremely helpful. See, I always worry. I mean, having seen so much cancer around us, right? I always worry that what happens if someone who is near and dear in the family who gets into this situation, and then what can you do to avoid it?
Yes.
Right. So what can we do to not land in that complicated situation? Right. So any insights and learnings around that that would be helpful.
Right. So Mahesh, we see this is a very relevant question that somewhere we all have and we all fear. You know, understanding the fact that we all know at the level of diet what we need to do, at the level of pollution what we need to do, you know, have more greenery around us, eat clean, eat healthier, avoid genetically modified, you know, so we know all of that. But what we don't understand is what is our emotions and what is our thoughts, how our emotions and thoughts impacting our well-being. So I would say detox has to be more energetic, emotional, and mental, not just dietary. So I would recommend anybody who's listening to this, please start doing detoxifying yourselves from the fear-based thoughts, from emotional baggage, from resentments, and from lower vibe. We now have seen the emotional guidance scale. Every time you are vibrating at a particular emotional frequency, which is low, accept that, see that, and then ask yourself, how can I work through it? Because see, this causes a disruption in our flow of energy field, like the chi, the prana. You know, now we have understood this from traditional Chinese medicines. Ayurveda talks about it, that it's the flow of life force energy that's get disrupted, causing disease. So be very mindful of that aspect of the emotional and the thoughts, and don't fear anything, don't resist anything, because what, you know, the thing is, we have to understand that if something happens to anybody that you are fearing, there is enough medical, we are not in dark ages, we have so much medical system supporting us, we have so many wonderful we have a whole, we can create a beautiful workforce that will help us to heal through this. So there's nothing to fear. But what's important is how can we enable and empower ourselves? So not just dietary or environmental, but also emotional and thoughts. Because there's a pollution that none of us talk about. It is the mental and the emotional pollution. So think of that at that level also. And don't worry, you know, life will happen to us. Wabi Sabi is telling us the philosophy, we will face disease, we will face death, we will face brokenness, but that doesn't mean that we will, you know, succumb to it. We can still rise up from it. So don't fear anything. Try as much as you can. Thank you, Mahesh. Okay, last question for the day. Manjari, would you like to unmute yourself, please?
Yeah. Hi, Dr. Nupur. Hi, Ashish, and hi to everyone. Thank you so much for saying the things that you did, Dr. Nupur, because being a cancer survivor myself, I resonated a lot with the things you were saying, especially about things that as a friend or as a caregiver, one should or should not say to a patient. You know, I have heard things like, I had a work break for almost 3.5 years, and there are people who have come and told me that, yeah, I know what it means because I had a maternity break for a year. Having a child might be one of the best news you receive versus a cancer, which is, I'm sure, I think the top 4 or 5 bad news a person's receive in their life. So I resonated a lot with what you were saying. I don't have a query, but I have one thought that I wanted to kind of bounce off to all the people here. Post cancer, what I realized is more than my scars or more than my, the fear of my hair coming back or my looks, what worried me and my family more, I think, was one is that your caregivers deal with you being sick only after you have recovered. I am seeing the downward health going downward for my parents and my husband only now that I have recovered, because the 3 or 4 years that they were caring for me, they completely ignored themselves. That's one. And the other thing that I see is financially a family is is ruined basically, because so much money goes in keeping a person alive, and the person who has recovered also is struggling to get a job because the workforce doesn't support it, and it's not easy for a person with a year's break and a child. So imagine when an organization is thinking you can't work that much anymore. So is there or are there platforms where such kind of conversations can happen, where dealing with cancer is one thing and a lot of conversation thankfully are happening, but post cancer, the practical challenges that a patient and the caregivers are dealing with, unfortunately it doesn't happen yet in India at least. Is there
Yes.
some thought, or can we as mindful community do something?
Yes, Manjari, thank you so much for that thought. And this is again something which is a part of a phase of a life when you are in remission. When the cancer has you've been told that now it's not there and you're in remission. See, one thing that, start understanding this, we have to create awareness. So this is a platform started by Ashish in Mindful Living. We are creating awareness. Some of us here are corporate, some of us are corporate heads. So if we are listening to this, let's start policies in our organization, or for people who are going through this difficulty, or for people who are, sometimes we don't even know our colleague that we are working with is a carer for somebody in his family who's going through this. So awareness, talking about it, allowing more of these conversations to be held at the corporate level of organization is something we must all promote. So if one of you is a corporate guy, you please contact Ashish and ask him, Ashish, we would like to organize this talk in our company, for the awareness generation. What can we do? So every little action has a ripple effect. And that can be something that we can create in the community. And that's the whole point of a free community that he has created. Let us use this, and empower ourselves. So Manjari, don't think you are helpless. You are very strong. You have created a very powerful point. And secondly, the word remission is remembering your mission. Remember that. It's no longer just remission. You have to remember your mission. This is what Anita Murjani calls it. So now you have to ask yourself, what is my passion? What is it that I want to? Energy is also, money is also energy. You are also energy. So creating that vibrational match so that you can create the awareness and abundance for yourself at every level, starting with appreciation of gratitude of what already is, and then going multifold from there. Right. So now when you say, I have overcome such a big crisis, world, like I am unbeatable. I am just a force to reckon with now. I'm going out there, guys, watch out for me. Go with that confidence. And for your carers, you're absolutely right. They were completely on a depleted mode of that life force energy, which you were talking about. So if any of us are now listening, please, as carers, we need to, Sarika, up our life force energy. This is really important. So, thank you, Manjari, for your share, and we will do our best. And any of you who are here, please help to share this and create policies and create a field where we can support everybody going through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nupur.
Thank you. All right, Ashish, I think we've had a lovely morning and a longer one.
That was a wonderful, wonderful, lovely, lovely session. You really poured your heart out, Dr. Nupur. And I think that clearly resonated with many people. I understand how difficult this journey may be for somebody who's got cancer or somebody who's taking care of someone who's got cancer. So please share this video. We will be sharing the link of this video with you. So please spread the word around, share it with everybody. Like Dr. Nupur said, if you would like us to organize this session for your corporation, for your organization, please reach out to me. You would have my numbers, or you would get an email from us, and you would have our coordinates. And we'll be happy to support this cause, help people live healthier. That is one of the core missions of mindful living, and that is what we work towards. Thank you, everybody, for taking our time and joining us today. Have a wonderful day. You may unmute yourself and say bye on your way out. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
Ashish and Dr. Nupur.
Excellent session.
Everyone.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
I would
Thank
say
you.
priceless session. Yes. Thank you.
Lovely
Thank you,
session.
Dayanji.
Thank you so much.
I opener. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, the entire team.
Thank you. Thank you, Rashmiji. Thank you.